What is up? Hello. Hello. Hey, Ethan, Brad, how you guys doing? I think you're muted, so if you were talking, couldn't hear you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Ethan.
How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
How's quarantine life?
Every day's the same for me, it feels like.
Yeah, right? It's like all blending together now.
Hard to get away from the office.
Do you have a home office at least set up?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah, I do, but it's always there.
I know, right? Yeah.
It's easy to go in on a Sunday morning and work for a few hours and time just flies by, or anytime flies by.
Yep.
How about you?
I don't have my own office, so I'm just in my room right now. But yeah, it is hard because my bed is right there, so it's very tempting.
Yeah, it's hard to get separation.
Yep. That is one of my dreams, though, is to be able to find like a sort of a co-working space that can double as a studio, so that I could um, so I can get out of here.
I think a lot of people are in your shoes
Yeah.
now, and a lot of people building out their home offices because I think this is going to be a little longer.
I know.
And so this is actually my first meeting. I got invited by a friend, Jonathan Davey, who I don't think is on yet. So
Cool.
what do
Yeah,
you
glad to have you.
Thanks.
Yeah, these are definitely we're still experimenting a lot with the virtual meetings, but so far have been pretty cool over the last couple weeks. Um, and yeah, just can't wait till we get back in person though.
I'm sure. Although these meetings save me a lot of travel time. I'm down in West Seattle, so it's usually I'm it takes a while to get there and back. So
Yeah.
this
Yep.
has added a little bit of efficiency for me lately.
Well, probably even harder now with the bridge closed.
Yeah, that's true. That was really unexpected. to have some safety issues is a little unexpected. So
Yeah, I didn't know that they like closed down that whole bridge. That's pretty intense.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how do you Isn't that the only way to get in, or no?
No, you can go south, and I actually
Go
live
around, yeah.
the south end of West Seattle anyway, so I usually hit up 509 further south anyway. But yeah, for the majority of West Seattle, it's it's a major inconvenience.
Oh,
Um,
well, the idea is to build up a stronger bridge, right? So hopefully that actually happens.
Gonna have to.
Yeah.
Luckily for the timing that people don't need it, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what's bizarre is how did it?
Yeah, how did it like stay up until like this exact moment? They're like, okay.
Right. I guess we have some good luck then.
Yeah.
Pandemic has this good benefit as an outcome.
I guess we needed that success beyond luck. Is that what your image says?
Yeah, that's the corporate headquarters or world headquarters, I should say.
Nice.
Yeah, I needed to add a little color. It was a white wall before, so I had to add some color to the wall.
It's a good one. It's a good idea. I actually have like a light that I usually put on.
Oh, there you go.
Back here.
There's the halo.
Yeah, there you go. Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Trying to adjust to this work from home life.
Pretty interesting.
I know. All this there's all these content and newsletters and everything trying to say that we're in a good transition time, we're learning a lot about ourselves and about the world, and I'm
That's
trying to
probably
say
true.
positive. Leif and Eric, how you guys doing? Oh, Brad, you were going to say something?
I was just saying, I don't think you're going to see the pace of change this fast in many years. So yeah,
I know. Yeah, the
Yeah,
one time we can actually take a pause button in the world.
right?
Yeah.
It's crazy in that way. So global and just phenomenal.
The pause button concept is very interesting. Regardless of how this is affecting everybody very negatively, it's still happening, and it's going to be interesting to see what comes of it.
Right.
Even just not driving as much as just, and the environmental concerns are probably going to be better for a while, just to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Did you see the picture yesterday of India?
No.
Yeah, they went. Oh, in India, they have a picture from October of this military or this famous arch there, and they took the same picture yesterday, and the difference was haze versus clear. So it's amazing what has happened in their 2-3 weeks since they have shut down. The air quality it's just on a different level.
Amazing. Yeah, all those tidbits are going to start showing up and just going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that pause, like you said, Victor. It's I would never have expected a pause to ever occur, at least globally.
Yeah. It's almost that how we always say. So I mean, well, at least when in consulting, I'm always I wish we can just start from scratch and just kind of start over, and this is it.
This is it. Yeah, I wake up this morning. I woke up. It's almost like I have to double check. Is that really still happening?
Mm-hmm.
It's so big. I'm at the beach still, and I plan to be here in May. And I've never stayed here this long. I've always had to leave. The one time I tried to stay here for a month, I had to go back to Seattle in the middle of the month for something and then come back again, which means you can go to the store and go wherever you want between here and there. But I just get this weird feeling why am I still here? Should I be here? I think I should have left already, but I don't know. It's a weird bending of time, I think, kind of.
Hi, Amy. It's nice to see you. Hi,
Hey.
Johan. Welcome. Jonathan, welcome in. Who else snuck in while we were chatting about what everyone chats about right now? All right. Well, we're going to probably do something really weird today, a little out of the norm. So we're going to start on time. So hopefully it doesn't scare anybody. Welcome, everyone. We might get a couple more people trickling in here. That's kind of how it rolls. And this is 1 Million Cups. If you were expecting a different meeting, then stay anyway. It'll be a great time for you, I'm sure. How 1 Million Cups works is we talk about entrepreneurial ideas over coffee. So if you have coffee, great. If you don't, you should go grab some because it'll wake you up. Download the app and check in. This is the reason that you want to do that is twofold. One is you can get you can contact people that are in this group if you wanted to send some information, or whoever for our host today. If you want to give them more feedback or comments, that's helpful too. And just to get updates for the community and what we're doing every week. Or you can follow us on social media. You'll get those updates there too. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Meetup, and Facebook. We're here every Wednesday. So rain or shine or coronavirus pandemic, we'll be here. Yeah, so let's move on to the next thing, which is what are we here for? What are we about? We're here to offer help to each other. We're here to ask for help. We're here to share our ideas, build a community, support each other. And we're going to do it while drinking coffee every week. So come with your ideas, your questions. There's a couple key differentiators between 1 Million Cups and maybe other groups that meet for business. These are presentations. We're not pitching to investors here. We're here to discuss our ideas and kind of share our story and get help with where we're at. We're here to connect with everyone around us. We're going to be connecting a little bit afterwards, doing breakout sessions when we're done. And we're run by the community. So there's community organizer volunteers that are in this group right now that helped make this happen every single week. Presenter every single week. It's a good undertaking. So we got a lot of great organizers. And we're radically and intentionally inclusive. So we're always trying to break down those barriers and access more people that are budding entrepreneurs or maybe even don't even know they are entrepreneurs. So if you know of anyone that might want to kind of try this on and see what it's like to be running your own business or starting your own idea, point them our way. It's a great place to learn about this stuff. 168 communities nationwide, so 9 a.m. everywhere in the country. So if you're not getting enough from today's meeting, you can wake up earlier next week and join in on Texas or New York or wherever you want. It's great community. We've had about 8,000 entrepreneurs or more share their stories on the 1 Million Cup stages nationwide. This is where we were at the collective just before going online. And we've got a couple community sponsors. So Seattle Strong sponsors our coffee normally. They're a local business that's also presented on our stages. So if you're at Amazon Go Store or PCC, you should pick up some Seattle Strong coffee and support someone who is a 1MC community member. And a small studio hosts our meetup page. So those volunteers I spoke about earlier, and here they all are, doing various awesome things to make 1 Million Cup Seattle come to you live every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. on time this week. Impressive. Thank you, everyone. And what should we expect today? Well, it's a good question. We're going to do some coffee conversation, a 6-minute presentation by an entrepreneur. It says 2, but that is a lie, so I apologize for that. Don't get too excited. And then a 20-minute Q&A session, which will kind of go over how that works here near the end. And then after that, we're going to have more conversation, better coffee, something like that, in our little breakout sessions so that you can kind of talk with people, about 2 to 3 people, so it's a little bit more natural. I know it's hard to talk with 12 icons floating around in front of you, so we're going to give that a whirl. So I'd like to introduce our entrepreneur this week. Very excited for her presentation. Her name is Sheila. So she's going to be talking a little bit about her company and where she's at with it. And let's welcome Sheila to the stage, and I will unshare my presentation screen once I find out where that went. Give me one moment. I have
Scroll
two
to the
monitors.
top. There's a menu if you.
Yeah, but my menu has disappeared onto like one of the various screens. Thank you, Victor. There we are. All right. Does everyone see Sheila's screen resource strategies?
This is pretty cool, I gotta say. Now I gotta figure out how to see all my screen. Okay, there we go. Hello. Now I can't see your faces, so I'll just believe you're still there. Thanks for having me here at 1 Million Cups. I'm really excited. I was part of the Seed Spot cohort during the summer, maybe even the other summer before this one, times running together. And so it's really great to be able to update some ideas with people and get your input. I started Resource Strategies in 2018 for real, after I had a gig, my last gig. And I'm really all about social impact organizations and the social impact enterprises and how they address and solve problems of equity and access to resources. Much of my background is in development for arts and culture community organizations. And I believe that arts and culture are a great equalizer because arts meet individuals at how they process information and build their ability to self-express and see themselves in a bigger context of the world. And cultural programs bring people together to share and experience art in all its forms. When I say art helps people process information, I mean the modes of intelligence: language, logic, somatic, spatial, musical, interpersonal, and intrapersonal. And I came into arts and culture out of business, and I have an MBA, so I've always approached fundraising and development as a business person, which didn't always go over that well, but it was quite effective, even if people didn't know what I was talking about. So my mission is to develop mission-driven leaders to lead from well-being and clear strategic priorities. My vision for social impact organizations is to thrive and evolve in order to change the world. And my approach is empowering, creative, and results-focused. I believe people have the answer in themselves, and it's possible to extract from people things that they didn't know. And I think everybody is creative. So I like to work from the point of view of, working outside the box, and to be results focused because we're looking for sustainability. I'm currently working on, I'm currently working on Strategy Now, which is a workshop to help people focus on the most important things, to shift from survival to creative mindset. And that's my current project. But what I really started with was realizing the new market pressures that a lot of nonprofits are under. A lot of ways of giving have changed in the past few years. Mindset and mind share have really shifted a lot. And in the meantime, the traditional social impact organizations really weren't able to keep up because of their nose being to the grindstone so much. So my vision originally was to bring a strategic planning process to leaders that would help them be able to adapt. Now, however, we have a whole new landscape and an eventual new normal. I think a lot of the high pressure people are feeling is that we don't even know what the new normal is, but people keep calling the current new normal the new normal. But hello, this is not the normal thing yet. I'm calling it the domino world because there's so many shifting interdependencies right now. And even if an organization had a strategic plan, they don't necessarily aren't able to keep up with it. And seriously, even if we couldn't before, we can't at this point look to the status quo for answers because of so many shifting interdependencies and this eventuality. So I worked with this model, I call it the Aspire model, to activate. And so that's like to activate, you know, the idea that we're going to do something, we're going to solve a new problem, we're going to get a new result. Then we're going to specify how that looks. We're going to plan. We're going to involve people. One hallmark of a social impact enterprise is the relevance of stakeholders rather than shareholders. And stakeholders are everybody who has anything to do with the organization, right down to the environment, literally the you know, the water, the ground, the trees, the environment in which the organization works. So involving the stakeholders and understanding who they all are, reviewing, and then evolving to our next aspiration, at which time we activate a new initiative. So I had this concept when people were talking about the new normal that, you know, people were like, new normal. And it occurred to me like George in Seinfeld, where he's like, strategy now. I mean, he's like, serenity now, because he was dealing with anger issues. And this is really weird because I can't see any of you. Are you there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If you go to your top, you should be able to hover over and find. It should show your video panel. You should be able to see video panel. Does it show that option?
I think I'm gonna have to click around some more.
That's
As long
okay.
as
Take
I
your
know
time.
you're there,
It's
I'm
important
good.
to be able to see the people that are listening.
Like, this is a whole new level
You're doing great.
of public speaking. So George was like, you know, serenity now, when he was dealing with his anger issues, instead of, you know, dealing with his anger, being angry about serenity. And it's almost like I just kept thinking, it's strategy now. You know, we need to have a new normal. What are we going to do about this? And it was like 1 week in to the stay at home. It wasn't even in order yet, actually, some of these meetings. And so the idea is to create a process by which people can focus on the most important things. I became aware of how to shift from the survival mindset to the creative mindset when I went through burnout. So I've been applying those practices a lot lately. So I worked in this arc to bring people from survival mindset to a strategy planning process within the same session. So that's what I'm doing in April right now, working that out so that people can learn some new practices and reconnect with vision and purpose. So you're all invited, very affordable, either $10 or you can have a comp code. And then I also had created Vitamin C, which was originally called Sheila's Burnout Toolkit. And I've adapted it to be less about burnout and more about just self-care and resilience when you're facing challenges. Basically, it has to do with the fight, flight, freeze. Now they add fawn, all these responses that we have when we're looking for safety, basically. You know, how to, because when your mind is stressed in that way, it cannot get into the thinking mode. It cannot get into the creative mode like we were hearing about last week. So these are some practices I put together to help people focus every day for 7 days on some practices. And you're welcome to sign up for this as well. I've been working in imagery from the beach because there is literally research that shows that the beach will help your brain. So I renamed it Vitamin C. This is the strategy planning process that I did work with until people panicked and stopped wanting to line things up, but it's still a good process where we start with the big picture and the high altitude, move to collective intelligence, and then implement. And basically the point is your implementation gears or are they weeds? You know, is everyone who's participating in carrying out your future aligned with the big picture? And in that case, it's gears. And more than ever, I'm here to support mission-driven leaders to act strategically for sustainability, social impact, and personal resilience during this time of swiftly changing interdependencies, resources, and reinvention. And what the help I could use today is I would like help with messaging. You know what strikes a chord in you, and how to appeal to people with this idea where self-care, resilience, and strategic leadership are linked. And so that's number one. And then number two is how to follow on these 3 Strategy Now sessions with a mastermind type idea or a coaching package and pricing. Like what would you pay theoretically for someone to be working with you as a sounding board during this time to keep your thoughts and your plans at a higher level? How was that for time?
Wonderful. Sheila, thank you so much. Round of hand, or you could do the Zoom clap, which I don't even know how to do. Thank you for it's actually good on timing. So I'm going to jump over to this screen so we can get going on questions. I'm sure everyone has questions. Give me 1 second. Maybe, no, that's not what we wanted.
Did I have to share it back?
Is that? I am losing my screen everywhere today. Okay, almost there. Oh, I clicked the wrong one. Okay, here we are. So, questions, feedback with Zoom. I know some of you might know how this works, but I will be calling on you as your hand is raised to give questions and feedbacks to Sheila. So I see that Jonathan's got a question.
Yes, thank you so much, Sheila. I'm actually doing a resilience course right now that was opened up by the University of Pennsylvania's Master of Applied Positive Psychology program. So it's like you're saying words that now I'm like, oh yeah. I did want to ask, just more of curiosity, the research behind the sea pictures and how that regulates a certain emotion in folks. I didn't know if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, there's an article that I could look up right now that referenced somebody who knows what they're talking about. Because I always had that feeling, because I'd come to the beach because I love it. And then this article came out, and I could look it up by the time we're done and tell you who the research is by. But it has to do with the waves, you know, the literal waves, and how they kind of lull the brain. It's kind of like drumming, you know, when you're in a drumming circle, does something to delta waves. The ions in the sea air and the hearing those waves, that regular lap or crash of waves, brings about a certain type of brain wave.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, there's a good one. Yeah. There's really a lot, actually. A lot of research now about it.
I've got a question, but I can't do the raise hand thing, so I'm going to just ask it. So I wanted to give reflect back what I heard from you, Sheila, because you were asking, kind of putting out there, is how you think to reach out to people during this time, or just in general, that might benefit from your services but might not know about it. Is that for me, I saw in your presentation that creativity like basically making a pivot from survival mode to creative mode is like, while survival feels like paramount, you know, usually people are just naturally built in to deal with survival, that they have to somehow break through that to get back to creative, especially at a time when you can't really predict what's going to happen tomorrow or the next week, how important that can be to be flexible, creative. And I liked your statement of saying that you got to move past the survival mode, because you can't be creative in that. You're just thinking too much about practical matters, and move into that like more play space. I thought that was the biggest thing to me. That was like, oh yeah, that I can see how that's important, especially right now. Like, especially if you're thinking competitively, your competitors might be in survival mode, and this is your time to be able to say, you know, I'm going to take a pivot here, or we're going to do something a little bit different. So I thought that was great. And you were talking about mastermind. I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, sure. A mastermind is this idea where a lot of different leaders join together in a regular meeting, and someone leads the meeting, and there's topics. So sort of a mastermind around either marketing or some business concern, leadership development, something. If I could add to what you were saying, my brain knowledge, apart from random research, actually comes from the Neurosculpting Institute, and her name is Lisa Wemberger, and she's doing a ton of free resources right now. And I started working with her in 2018, trying to get out of that burnout. So literally what happens when you get in burnout, you get cognitive overwhelm. So there's literally no room in your brain to move into creativity, because the creativity is all like in this neocortex space of the brain. It's a literal space issue. And also with burnout, you get emotionally exhausted. So I kind of pulled back from the burnout name because a lot of people don't relate to it, but it's literally what's happening right now with the pandemic. People are getting cognitive overwhelm, different one day, different next day, minute to minute, atrocity, ridiculousness, when's the thing's going to be lifted? How are we going to know how they're going to decide? How can we predict like anything, because every day is a little bit weird. All that stuff's like adding up to be cognitive overwhelm, and also emotional exhaustion, because we thought that our country was better. And so I just want to stress, it's not like a casual stress. It's literally taking up space in your body, and it's causing neuro responses that are stress-based, that actually impact your organs. So like your kidneys and the adrenaline, your, all the different messages that go with, protect yourself, are literally acting on the body. So like, I want to like reiterate that it's a serious form of stress that we need to, each one of us, even if we don't feel that, that affected by it, like give a little extra something to your body to relax, and not liquor. Like, I'm all for a drink, but like that is not actual relaxation. It has to be breathing, or if you do the vitamin C E series, I talk about it, like breathing talks to your body. You can inform your body that you're doing well by your breathing practices, and that's via the vagus nerve. So I just want to encourage you all to take it seriously.
I think it's a very good point. Thank you for answering my question. And just anecdotally, you asked about the C, and I was saying, well, anecdotally, I know that it makes me feel great too. So, all right, we got another question here from Eric. He's unmuting himself right now. He's clicking around.
Is that me?
That's you. Sorry, it's Zaki.
Okay, there you go. I wasn't sure if Eric Non had something as well. Hi, Sheila. Great. Thanks for giving us that nice presentation.
Thank you.
I agree completely about the breathing. Just as an anecdote, I do a lot of yoga, and part of yoga is breathing, and that connection between your body and breathing is very important. So that's a very good point. Thank you for saying that. But you asked us, some questions at the very end about what we can do for you, and the one thing that I don't know, which might help us, zoom in and help you focus, is who is the niche market that we should be helping you find? Because if you're trying to reach out to people, who is that? Is that the CEO of a company? Is that the director of a division, or is it both? Can it start at the bottom? I just don't know who we should probably try to think about when we help you with those questions you asked us at the end.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've had a lot of issues with this term, mission-driven leader, and I've continued to keep it. At the Impact Hub Seattle last summer, I did some mission-driven leader workshops, and it was amazing. People opted in to that idea, and they were all over the map. Like even app developers consider themselves mission-driven. So it's hard to say it's an industry, and all different levels of people opted in. So I do like working with the executive director or the CEO, and I've also worked with a director who was more of a middle manager who was super stressed and had a lot of issues sort of mediating the front line of her property management with the directors upstream. So I think the common denominator is the social impact element, where if people want to be making a difference in the world, and that's another reason I don't use the words nonprofit, because I don't think that they're naturally social impact organizations or social impact enterprises, even if they're mission driven. So that's a good question, and I really struggle with it because it's not really that clear. Kind of opt in. It might be a psychographic type thing. It's a terrible answer. What do you think?
Zaki, did you have more for that?
I didn't.
Okay.
I'm luckily in a situation where I have a very defined audience that I need to hit, and it seems to me that that's a tough barrier to overcome. Who do you try to target? But at the same time, I liked your very initial response was you've worked with people at every level. Someone can be a mission-driven leader, because I'm one of those persons who agrees. If everyone considers themselves a leader in an organization, that organization has a far better chance of success than if they all look to one person.
Good point. Thank you. We've got Brad over here with a question.
Hey, Sheila. Good job on the presentation. Really like hearing about your business and your experience. We have actually similar backgrounds, I think, and experience and MBA backgrounds. And one of the things I've seen and through my own experience is starting with a lot of the tools we've learned to use help organizations improve are completely foreign to them, are more from we're coming with a solution versus thinking about what they want. And it gets sort of to Eric's comment about who you're serving. For instance, as I've worked with more clients, they've summed up sort of the things you're talking about is I want to know what the F I'm doing, as simple as that. Sort of in their world, it's not about strategy or planning. It's different terms and different perspective. And so one thing I would encourage, to Eric's point on like who do you serve, and one thing that's helped me a lot, I don't know if you've heard of the book Value Proposition Design. It's a really good, it's a graphical, and even the first chapter will help you think through some of those questions of who do you serve and exactly what value from the perspective of the customer you provide versus what we've been taught in our MBA.
Yeah.
Of this is the tools, these are how you do it. It shows you a completely different perspective, and I found it to be very, very helpful. So I think it could help you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. I had one more comment on that, just a question that Zaki said, Sheila, which was, who's your kind of target audience, who you're looking for, and you kind of are like, well, it could be a lot of different people. Do you have any examples of particular people you've worked with that were just like, it was firing on all cylinders, you really enjoyed the experience the most? Is there any similarities between those types of people that you've worked with before, companies?
Yeah, well, I just love working with people who have a big idea, like a big mission. And anybody who has a problem and they can overcome it. I just even love that. I just stick with this social impact idea because that's what I want to do. But yeah, one of the most satisfying clients I had was someone who had a super stressful job, and she actually had had a stroke. And so she was going to go back to work in, I don't know, like 4 weeks or something. So we worked together for her to do exactly what I'm talking about, which is develop some self-care practices and also look at how she was going to go back and work with her staff in a different way. And so that was really satisfying to me because it met both those ideas, and she really needed both. So I would say targeting people around burnout is not a good way to go because they don't have time, they don't comprehend. I was remembering even that when I was in the middle of burnout, because I was helping my dad, and I was like trying to figure out veterans benefits on top of his, attitude that I won't go into. Running to Linwood, going to work, having events at night, just like a mad person. I was so crazy at that time. And then I'm like, I got to get a handle on this. And then I had a coach. Like, I couldn't deal with him. I couldn't deal with that coach. I don't know if it was the wrong coach or what, but like working with people in the middle of burnout it just doesn't work out. They don't know. So,
it's a very good observation. That rings true to me too, that story. All right, we've got a question from Johan.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's probably a little less of a question and more of a resonance, Sheila. I love, you and I've talked at the Seed Spot at 1 Million Cups now and stuff. And one, let me say, I absolutely have been inspired and heartfelt by watching your journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it. Yeah, and I've seen it, but like your smile right now tells me that every day of that journey has been wonderful to get you to this point. And your presentation was fantastic. You've really honed in. I sent you a little side thing about pre-COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 gathering and what that kind of looks like. Because that's one of my questions. And I don't have an answer to it, and I don't know if any of us will. And hypotheses might just lead us to a really negative space eventually.
Yeah.
So again, one of the things that I think is important that I'm curious of your thoughts on is trauma involved in the situation that we're currently dealing with. Kirk Mead, who some of you know, posted something on LinkedIn the other day, and it said, "This is a pandemic, not a race to see who's most efficient."
Yeah, right.
Right. And so, and that to me again is like, this isn't a time to say, "Oh my God, how much can we?" God, the fashion, you're the fashion girl, right? You do fashion. You just came on. Sorry. No, okay, wrong person. Rohan's Shiny Things. So again, I'm curious, for those of us that do work in motivation and really helping design better spaces, what are some of your thoughts during this time around people dealing with trauma, and how do you see that possibly helping you being able to help that? I don't know. Or is that a space that could be helped?
Yes, that's an interesting question. When I did the work at Impact Hub, I had some people coming who were from, I don't know what it was. It was like a medical place in Kent. They drove all that way up to Pioneer Square. And they were all about the trauma informed this, trauma informed that. And I was like, yeah, trauma informed. But trauma informed is actually everything. And it's going to be more everything as we go forward with this thing that it has not even half done yet. Okay. Like it is, what is it? It's April 15th. Our stay at home is not even going to end till May 4th. If that is even true, LA has already extended to May 15th. So everybody is racking up the trauma right now, let alone any actual trauma of life that no one knows about. So it really behooves us in the motivation and helper space to become aware of what that is. And basically what it is acknowledging other people's experience. I mean, that's really the root of trauma informed, is to acknowledge other people's experience, whatever it might be. Like they might have had issues in childhood. And the matter with childhood is that stuff's in there deep. You know, it's not like, oh, get over it. It's like, you don't even know what you don't know to get over it unless you've like done the work. And not everybody's had access to do the work. I mean, I didn't do the work on my dad until like the end of last year, when I finally was like, good Lord, I need therapy right now. And I went to like a therapy group for children of narcissistic parents. And in working with those 6 people, I learned phenomenal things about the experiences that everyone had experienced. And so the crux of trauma informed is that, you know, you got to meet people where they're at, not where you think they should be, or not where you think they should be to accomplish your strategy. And it's definitely worth the research to look into what all that means. Part of it actually begins with knowing yourself and what your trauma was.
I couldn't raise my hand for some reason as a host, but I think I'd ask a very similar question to that, or at least kind of connect some dots here in terms of, you know, who you'd be reaching out to, right? And I think I heard a little bit of it in the presentation, but to more kind of focus on your own story as well and sharing that, and then using that as a way to connect or resonate with those who then would resonate with your story. And then I wonder if that could also start driving a lot more of how you speak to people and start drawing other people towards you, as you open up. And, you know, I know I don't like using the word vulnerable, but I think that's like communicates the idea though that it's being there to open up and share your story, and then seeing like who can connect with that. So yeah, how much have you thought about that and sharing your own story?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Part of me has wanted to get rid of my old story. Like, part of me doesn't want to work with nonprofits anymore. I don't think the model is going to move ahead. And especially with this shift in resources, they're sort of tend to be stuck, you know. So
But I guess more so than the industry or the field expertise, right? But from an emotional level, you know, talking about your burnout or talking about the having just connecting on the more human and emotional level, that then can span into different industries, right? Obviously, that we're all humans and we all have different expertise, but if you can then connect on the emotional level, then I wonder if that can draw people towards you.
yeah, it's really interesting because I started my burnout kit as Sheila's burnout toolkit, which might not be the best name, and I have like a page of my story, and I just always feel like I'm just like droning on and on about myself.
Yeah.
Good question. I don't know where the line is. What do you think?
Well, and you know, as I'm in this space too, right? In terms of being able to help people on a personal, professional way, and I think that is the issue. Is I think that's in the first place the first reason why many of us don't share our stories, because of this. I don't know. I guess cultured or socialized. I don't want to say stigma, but it is this idea that we're not allowed to share our own stories, or that we are allowed to ask for that kind of, I guess, attention, right? But for the most part, because I think, especially during these hard times, that people are seeking that even subconsciously. So just opening up and putting it out there and seeing who really does resonate. I'm learning that myself, is the more I put myself out there, people do reach out because of that. Not because of my experience or the, you know, the type of work or whatever. It's just the fact that I, you know, am able to be super open, I guess. And I think that's a constant battle, though, of not trying to be this like woe is me mentality, but also sharing like where you came from in that way. So kind of connecting with like what you've built or what you've done up to this point. What are the results that you created, having gone through those experiences? So yeah, it's constant battle, but just being transparent, I think, about the journey versus like trying to be this expert of something. Yeah.
All right. We've got one, looks like final question before we move on to our next thing for the day. Johan.
Sheila, when this was all talking, what came to my mind is it could be a really good group for you. And yes, I will look to my community, to anybody that I think could join your online class you're doing, because I know you that was one of the asks. I think that's fantastic. Also, I'm thinking employee resource groups. And I think one of the employee resource groups that would be really interesting for you to kind of start would be one based on employees, say, over 40 or over 45. That's a really interesting market that was kind of coming to light before COVID-19, and I think is going to be even more important after. And I think that might be a real, that group, I'm in that group. You know, I think that what you're doing would resound more with them, and you'd have less of an uphill climb to get the client, maybe.
That's a really good point, because I mean, I was 45 when my dad came back. Like, I didn't have anything to do with him much for years and years, and then suddenly it's all about him again.
Well, and that's a great point. Is, you know, it's like being a parent again at the other end of your life in a really odd.
That's when it happens, when you're 40 to 45.
And so that might be a really great place for you to really find clients that are motivated to be with you rather than chasing them. That's what I'm always looking for. I want people that want to work with me, not chasing them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
All right. Thank you everyone for your questions and comments and inspiration, at least what I saw. We're going to jump back into our handy dandy PowerPoint. All right, so Sheila, we've got one last question for you. What can the 1 Million Cups community do for you?
Oh, what can they do for me? Well, already you've done so much, and thank you. I think, you know, sign up for vitamin C. There are some links out to some blog posts I've written over the years about self-talk, for example. I had a real issue with self-talk that really didn't resolve until I re-encountered my dad. And so I wrote about that. And it's 7 self-care practices, and hear your self-talk is the second one. Are you your own best ally? So if you signed up for vitamin C, you know, feedback to me. You're welcome to come to Strategy Now, feedback to me. I think my main thing is I need people to participate and just experience what I'm putting out there and then feedback to me. And I promise you'll get something out of it.
It sounds like it. We had some really good experience already today so far. All right, then that leads me to what can you do for the 1 Million Cups community, meaning everyone that's on this call? Well, you can bring a friend next week. We're trying to be more radically and intentionally inclusive and make true on that statement. And so we're trying to bring in people that might just be at the beginning of the stage of their entrepreneurial career, or might not realize that they have one ahead of them, and to be inspired and realize that it's not this scary thing that's only for certain people. It's for anyone that wishes to do it. So think about who you might bring next week that fulfills that requirement of someone maybe unexpected in your life. Or if you want to get involved, you should see Leif. That is me. So we've got a couple organization slots open. It's a very small commitment. We try to make this is a volunteer organization. We try to make it very small bar to get in. Just if you can do one thing once a week, it can be very small, but do it every week is a big, huge help. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you and get a little bit more involved in the community, you can message me through 1millioncups.com/Seattle or chat with me after, or, you know, it's 2020. People are really good at stalking, so you can probably find me. Apply to present. So what do you need to do to present? Well, you need to be trying something new and willing to ask for help. That's a pretty small ask to be able to get in. I think most people are trying something new in this group, and if you're willing to ask for help, then you're great to come on in and give a presentation. So that's on that website as well. All right, we're going to finish up with something called our closing espresso. Keep that coffee theme rolling now. Here's a couple of seeder questions to kind of think about. We're going to be breaking out into groups of, I think, about 3 people, where you can continue the conversation, have maybe more deeper conversation about any topics that were brought up or anything else you want to talk about. It's very free format. And then just feel free to leave when you have to leave the breakout room. I want to thank everyone for coming today, and I'll see you next week. And I think we've got Victor making the breakout rooms happening any moment now.
I will be creating some breakout rooms from 3 to 4, and we'll see you guys there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like we're becoming such good Zoom experts now.
Yeah, except I clicked the wrong button and now it's, okay, here we go.
Wow. Ah.
Cool. Tiara, are you still there?
cancer just a little over a year ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And